What up, you awesome people? How is it going? This is Bharat here. Hope you're having a super awesome day. Somebody the other day in Twitter sent me this super funny meme, and I found it to be really hilarious. Come on, it's really funny. Coder, Control C, Control V. All of this is super funny, but it's also got me to thinking what percent of it is the reality. How many people do copy paste? And I just wanted to make this video to understand if copying and pasting is either a good or a bad sign of a programmer. Let's find out in this video, and we'll also talk about a lot more. Even before we begin, if you guys like the video or if you find that it's at some point you understand the value of this video, do not forget to smash that like button so that I get notified as to how awesome my content is and also can make a lot of videos. And also it will help the YouTube algorithm, so please do that. Coming back to the video, I just wanted to talk about something really important as the first point. The first point is, do you know the difference between copy pasting your own code and copy pasting somebody else's code? If you're from the first part where you copy paste code, I'm really sorry to tell you guys that you are a really novice developer. You copy paste your own code because you find it redundant. If you're going to write redundant code, please make sure that you refactor your code. So let's not go into the first part. The second part is, if you're going to copy paste somebody else's code, are you a good developer or is it a sign of a very bad developer? The point number one for answering that question is, if you're going to copy paste code, do you know where the line lies? It is a very thin line. The thin line says that if you're going to be copy pasting somebody's code, does it work for you in the first place? If it works for you, do you know what is happening? If you do know what is happening, did you find any other flaws in that? If you can answer these three questions and you still have positive answers for these three questions, then I'm pretty sure that you understand where the line lies. It is also important to know that when you talk copying pasting code, you do not go overboard and copy paste this 600 lines of code. A lot of times people do a lot of open source project, put them in GitHub repositories, and you find the answer, you copy paste that and it works for you. But that is not how programming works. Programming is more about trying to not always invent the wheel, but also make sure that you do not go and take the wheel from somewhere and put it in your code. That is not how it works as well. So you got to understand that when you're copying and pasting code, you make sure that you understand what is the difference that is going to make if you write that code and copy paste that code. So if it might take 6 hours to copy paste the code and just correct the entire thing. But if you write the code properly, you could have completed the entire module in just 2 hours. So that is where you got to understand, is it going to be a boon or is it going to be a bane for me when you're copying and pasting? It is also important to understand that when you're trying to copy and paste, it is always important that a lot of people have a lot of answers in Stack Overflow. It's just going to be a personalized answer for every question that is out there, because it's just a question and answer forum. So there's a question, there's an answer for that. If it's a general question and you go in and copy paste that answer, it works for you, awesome, no questions regarding that. But it's a really technical question, say something related to concept with a Python module, you understand that somebody else has the same question, you get the answer for that. But it's really personalized. It contains arrays, dictionaries, everything personalized to one single question. You try to copy paste that and you try to correct all the dictionaries and arrays and everything in that, and you end up with this blob of a module where everything is broken here and there, and it's going to be a nightmare. So always understand the thin line. That line says that if you're not going to be spending so much effort after you copy paste, probably it is worth it. So go ahead and do that. But if you're going to be making a lot of changes to copy pasting, just go and write it yourself. It also brings me to the second point where I wanted to discuss about. There are different things that can happen with copy pasting the code. It could be as simple as a security flaw in that. It could be as simple as bad memory management, or it could even be a bad design. So make sure that you understand what you're copying and pasting. It could be as simple as copying a single line of code, but you don't even understand what is happening. Or it could be copying and pasting 200 lines of code, and you do understand what is happening, and it's also generic out throughout the entire sphere that you want to copy. So make sure you know the difference and also know what is wrong with your code and what is correct with copying and pasted code. So that difference is going to help you very much in the long term, which brings me to the third point. So there was this programmer in my team who I actually look up to more than 15 years in this industry, almost built everything there is to build with Python for my company. So I went to him and I asked this question when I started out. I asked him, do you think copying and pasting is wrong? Because when I started out, I was finding it difficult to build huge modules at very small time. Say for example, in a sprint of 2 weeks, can I build something that is huge? I said, I do copy paste code. He said, yeah, that is not a problem, because even after 15 years of experience and even after building a lot of modules in Python, I do learn a lot of things in an everyday basis, and I do sometimes copy and paste code. So the answer did shock me, but it also made me understand that if you're going to learn, somebody with a 15 or 20 years experience is going to learn on everyday basis, why not me? Because it's just as simple as I'm just new into the industry and I should learn on an almost everyday basis. Copying and pasting did not help me do that. So the answer was, it's always going to be a long-term bet over a short-term bet. If I copy paste something and it works for me in the short term, am I going to be done with that? Yeah, probably yes. The model is done, the task is done, you get a good name and it's over. But is it going to help me in the long term? If I have to go back to that module and I want to make sure that I want to write something similar to that in the future, can I replicate that? Probably not, because I did copy paste it and it worked for me. Now I have to go back to that module and I have to go find what component I copy pasted, and I have to take that and put it here again, make all the changes for this to work. But rather, if you could understand the concept I copy pasted, probably I can recreate that almost at any point of the day. So that is what I learned. It's always a long-term bet when you're programming. It's always the knowledge that you want to gain over a period of time, and it's not everything is going to be short-term. There could be short-term fixes, for example, say environmental fixes, or your OS is not working properly, you find a simple one-liner to fix that. That is different. But if it comes to completely programming a module, something that you own, and you want to build something from scratch, probably not a very good bet. Alright, so that brings me to the fourth point. The fourth point was actually something similar to the third point. So if you're going to do something for the long term, you not only do understand or not only build this base, but you also read a lot of code. And reading a lot of code does help you in understanding how people think and how people do differently, and what you can learn from that instead of just copying and pasting that alone. A lot of times when you write code, if there is going to be a code review process, it is definitely going to be caught. People do know that you did copy paste it from some forum. So even though they do not tell it out loud, it is always important to not be in that bar. The bar should always be high. The bar should always be that you did write that piece of code, but if it's going to resemble an algorithm, let it resemble an algorithm. But if you do not know that algorithm, even if you copy paste that, make sure you understand what is happening in the code. And that brings me to the fourth point, which says that you got to read a lot of code to understand what is happening. So when you do read a lot of code, you will stop reducing that copying and pasting work over a period of time. Even though it may not happen on a fortnight, it might happen over a period of 6 months, where you do read a lot of other people's code. You understand this is how they are doing it, and I can do the same. So you start writing it in your code, and it brings this good culture as well, where you also learn from a peer-to-peer perspective. So that is important that you do that, and it's also going to help you in the very much in the long term. Alright, the next point is that I do a lot of programming and stuff. If you can see me from the last 110 videos or something that I did, I do a lot of work where I show you the screen, I cast the screen, but I don't mask things where I do search something in Google, I do search something in Stack Overflow, and I do sometimes copy paste code. So that is what I wanted to make sure that, because I don't have anything to hide. I'm not this genius programmer who can just have everything in my memory and type everything out. That is not me. And that is not how every programmer works as well, because there are a lot of different stacks that you have to remember, and you can remember that, but sometimes if there is going to be redundant information, it's better to not go and put everything in your brain. It's always a good habit to go search for something and find the answers out. And if I find that answer is something I know already, I go ahead and just copy paste and put it into my code. It works. It's just two-liner that works for me. If something is I do not understand what is happening, I make it a point to learn, read it first, I understand the documentation, I understand how the method works, or I understand how the API works, and then I put it into my code. And that is what I want to give, this culture of giving and taking, where you can do Google search. What is wrong with Google search? That is the main part. That is the main point of having a Google as a search engine. So when you do that, you make sure that you understand a lot of different techniques as to how you can reach your answer you always understand how a person looks at a problem, and from there you could get some good ideas for solving your problem as well. So all of those things are combined. So from a personal perspective, I always want to make a module first work. If there is no point in making a module work, what is the point of designing a UI and marketing around that? So first make the module work, and that is where I spend a lot of my time into. So if I want to make a module work, there could be this one single line of code that could make the entire thing work. I might still know it, but I would not have the knowledge of the specific language as to how to do it. So I do Google search. If I can do that in Python, I can do that in Java as well. But I'm really not comfortable with the syntax of Java. So what do? I go search for the syntax of Java. I understand how they do it in Java. If it is just a simple thing, I just copy paste that and it works for me. It's over there. If something huge, if it's completely complex, it's completely different design that they suggest, I do understand how it works and I just do it in there. So the answer is, if from a personal perspective, always make sure that the module works first, and you got to do something for that to work, right? If it's going to be copy pasting, like I told you, short term is going to help, but if you understand how it works, it's going to definitely help you in the long term. So make sure that you put that extra effort as to building that thing from the scratch, and if you put that extra effort to understand how that thing works, it's going to definitely make you a good programmer. And copying and pasting is it's definitely not a sin or it's definitely not a sign of a bad programmer. Alright, so that brings us to the last end part of the video, where I want to answer this question: do copying and pasting make you a bad programmer or a good programmer? It definitely does not make you a bad programmer, but it also is a very thin line as to how good of a programmer you become. Like I told you, over a period of 6 months, if you can reduce the copying and pasting, and if you can reduce how a particular language or a particular concept works, and I can do that without even having to go to Google, then it's good. It's great that you have come a long way. But it's not going to happen that way. It's definitely, you do need some support, or you definitely need some internet to understand how some things work, because you cannot store everything in your brain. And if that is the case, then you're definitely not anywhere near the bad programmer. Like, you can just call yourself a novice programmer if you are just very new into the sphere, and you're trying to just copy and paste and make things work. You just have to make something work. It has to show on the screen. It's not wrong as well. But if you've been doing this for more than 3 or 4 years, you've been doing this for maybe probably longer than that, and you still copy paste code, maybe you got to understand that it has to stop now. If it doesn't stop now, it is going to put a very bad tag for you in the long term. And it's also important to understand that you don't want that. You have to understand to build a good knowledge base around that, understand how different concepts work, and gradually reducing this bad habit of copying and pasting is going to help you. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this video. I hope this video is informative. I've been meaning to make this video for a very long time. Found time to only do this now. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button. Probably also the subscribe button, so that I get a lot of subscribers. Do that, please. Alright, let me meet you in the next video. Until then, it's Bharat. Peace out. Have a super awesome day.